A goal will give the Lions an incredible victory. Ash McGrath comes in. It's on its way. It's there. The miracle on grass.
Yes, it's the Brisbane Lions Fancast, still on a high from one of the most incredible matches in club history. Mike, it's a few days now, but can you believe it?
He's not even putting it on, folks. He cannot wipe the smile off his face. And I've seen him a couple of times since the game, and it's been the same.
Yeah, no, I've maybe lost some friends. They're a little bit annoyed at me talking about it right now.
Yeah, it's still a bit of a head-scratcher, isn't it? Just unbelievable every time. I'm sure everyone that's listening to this has probably watched the replay the last 2 minutes 5 or 10 or 20 times, and it's still hard to figure out, isn't it? Not just those 2 minutes, but the 30 minutes before that, and 52 points down, and wow, it doesn't happen very often, does it?
We needed every last second to do it. The question is, how did we turn it around?
I think Vossi hardly knows. I've been in a couple of press conferences with him since the match, and I still don't think he's quite put his finger on it yet. But I guess like nuts and bolts wise, we started getting hands on the ball first and getting more possession, playing a lot more direct and going forward a lot quicker. But I mean, there has to be more to it than that, doesn't there? Like the momentum, I think a few of the players have mentioned how much the crowd got into it and how much they noticed the crowd and how much they fed off that. So that's obviously a part of it, especially once you've got that margin back to 30 or 20 and you can feel like, oh, hang on, we were 15 minutes ago, we were down by 50, now we're down by 20 or 30. There's something brewing here. So they really fed off that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is that just doesn't happen against Geelong. Geelong do that to other teams. It doesn't happen against them, which makes it all the more special.
Yeah, not to that extent. And I know we certainly can't claim any credit here, but I know we chatted on the show last week and said that they do leave the door open just a little bit.
It was all us. Come on, Mike.
Yeah, it was all us. If you go back and listen. I mean, I certainly didn't think Brisbane could win, but, you know, we'd mentioned that Geelong leave the door open, and Chris Scott had mentioned it, and it was a well-known fact, but not to that extent, not running down 50 points in the last quarter. And you're right, they're an experienced team. Generally, they've got a few young guys, but they've been through that situation many times, and so it was quite remarkable, and still it's incredible to think about it now that Brisbane turned it around against the powerhouse team of the last decade.
And there were just no signs.
I thought they tried hard without having the polish. I thought they tried hard.
Okay.
You think otherwise?
Maybe it's just the fact that I've seen, over the past few years, so many blowouts. It kind of felt at the start of the third quarter, this is just another. I didn't see any signs of hope. Yes, we were trying, but I lost all hope, I think, and that is a rare thing for me, as listeners would know. So, I was more than happy to be proven wrong.
I guess special mention, obviously a lot of these sort of comebacks take a lot of things. Everything has to go perfectly, but probably to a few players. Simon Black, who the day was largely centred around. Brent Maloney's in the last quarter, I know. It was incredible, wasn't it?
Wow. Best of his career, almost, I'd say.
It's hard to think that you've had a better quarter than that, isn't it? Like, that's 11 touches, 2 goals. I think it was 5 or 6 clearances. That's an enormous quarter. So his performance. And Daniel Rich, he's been moved to half back in his 2 return matches, and boy, how good's he going off half back?
And then shoved in the midfield in the last at times as well. That goal he kicked to make the scores level reminded me so much of the goal he kicked in the 2009 elimination final against Carlton from pretty much the same spot, I think.
First quarter, he ran around pretty much on his own and unchecked and racked up disposals, and then as the match wore on, he got a bit closer checking, but as you said, he went sort of midfield and drifted forward once or twice, and he was so crucial. So, and that's not even touching on the hero of the whole night, Ash McGrath. It was just an unbelievable fairy tale script, and he's a really good guy, Ash, very low key and doesn't do a lot of work in the media, so the public don't get to see a lot of him, but just a fantastic bloke, very well respected and liked around the club. So I was stoked to see him kick that winning goal. That
image of everyone running towards him and jumping on him with sheer jubilation is one I don't think I'll ever really forget. It just couldn't have happened, I don't think, to a more fitting guy. He's just been a club servant all along, all 200 games, and now he finally gets his moment in the limelight, even if it's not really what he wanted. But yeah, it was just absolutely exceptional from him, and to be able to have the composure to go back and slot that kick speaks volumes about him, his character, and him as a player.
It was an amazing chain of possessions, and I know we're going to speak to Dane Zorko shortly on the show, and it'd be great to speak to him about it, but that chain of possessions from Daniel Merritt in the defending goal square to go all the way forward in, as you said, 19 or 20 seconds was quite amazing. And aside from Elliot Yeo, it was all the experienced players, wasn't it? The guys that had the poise, they had a bit of courage there. There was Merritt and Black and Patfull.
And Adcock, who's had an up and down year, but he stood up when it counted. He stood up in a big way when it counted.
Yeah, and of course Zorko, who's not overly experienced, but he's mature, and McGrath. So I guess the ball was in good hands all the way through that chain, wasn't it?
Well, everything had to go right. Everything did, and it did, and it's just ridiculous that it did.
Undoubtedly one of the most exciting matches any of us have ever seen, especially live, and being at the Gab was quite amazing.
Yeah, it goes down in Brisbane sporting folklore.
Terrific performance, and now you've just got to move on to Hawthorn because that's it doesn't get any easier. They've won 11 straight and have now, I would think, undoubtedly moved into premiership favouritism. So a hell of a test coming up in Tasmania.
I suppose you could say there's been a few false dawns, and we're just waiting for the one that proves to be the one that turns it around.
We need to see consistency, don't we? Like we've seen the best is pretty good, but we've also seen that the worst is quite poor. So Brisbane, obviously Michael Voss and the team are trying to narrow that gap between the best and worst, because at the moment we've seen how vast it is within the space of one match, even the space between their best and worst footy. So huge test. It doesn't get any bigger than Hawthorn. If they can back it up and perform well against the Hawks, things are turning in the right direction.
Look, if we were somehow able to get the win on Sunday against Hawthorn, you'd almost throw a contract in front of Michael Voss then and there.
you might. I'm not sure about the club. But,
well, Geelong and Hawthorn.
Unbelievable scalps. I think the commentary around Voss seems to change weekly, and I know another media commentator, Gerard Whateley, who's on Fox Sports and any number of ABC and any number of sort of media outlets. He's a believer, and so am I, as in let's just see what happens after 22 rounds. We'll get to see Voss's entire season. What we have seen is that the players like playing for him. So that box is ticked. Now it's just performance and being able to replicate it and being consistent. And
actually, you did mention Gerard Whateley, who is on AFL 360, which is where I think he said that. And Mark Robinson, who's also on there, mentioned something interesting on Monday night on the show. He said that we've seen this from the Lions. We've seen them come out and look fearsome and brutal and brilliant. And then the next week, I think his words would look like Brown's cows out there.
Well, that's just what we've touched on, isn't it? The gap between the best and the worst is too vast at the moment. And it needs to start narrowing.
Yeah, without doubt. Now, after this on the Fancast, we're chatting to Dane Zorko. He was involved in the final play, and we're going to grab his thoughts on it. That's next on the Fancast.
The best way to keep track of everything Lions is to head to lions.com.au. It's the first place to find the latest Lions news and videos, get the lowdown on upcoming games, results, and player stats. There's also great ways to interact with live chats, downloads, and Player of the Year voting updates. And with a social media hub, you can connect with all the Lions' social media activity. Lions.com.au. Everything Lions, all in one place.
Joining us on the Fancast today, he had a pivotal role in that final play. It's Dane Zorko. Dane, it's been a few days now. How are you feeling?
Yeah, obviously still over the moon with the result that we ended up getting, but it's important now that we let that one go and focus on Hawthorn this week, which is going to be another good test for us.
Well, mate, you might want to let it go, but we're just going to pin you down for a little bit longer on it. Mate, it's been highlighted a little bit through the media already, that final play and your role in running from the defensive goal square, to the centre circle to get the hand pass from Jed and eventually hit up Ash McGrath. Can you tell us what your mindset was, from that play when Dan Merritt took the mark and your ability to run forward from there? Just can you take us through what you were thinking?
Oh, well, obviously there wasn't a hell of a lot of time left. I didn't know at the time, but I knew there couldn't have been much time left because I looked up on the scoreboard and it was around the 30-minute mark. So I knew we had to take the game on, and there was... the only way we could do it is if we probably went down the middle. So I just started tracking the ball down the middle, and Bucky hit up Joel, which was a fantastic kick. And then Joel's probably taken the riskiest kick he's ever taken, I reckon, which you won't mind me saying. But he spotted up Jed, and Jed come forward. He's probably important that Jed hand passed off the ground and not got up and gone over his mark. Otherwise, the game would have been all over. And I had a look around me, and there was no one around me. I screamed for it and got the ball and saw that Josh Hunt just laid off Ash McGrath by a metre or so, and Ash is one of our longer kicks in our team. So I thought he's probably one of the better users of the ball and one of our longer kicks. So hit him, and he's gone back and sealed the deal.
I saw an angle which showed Ash McGrath right after he took the mark, and you see his face right after the siren goes, and he has a bit of a smirk because clearly none of you knew exactly how long was left. Did it surprise you to hear the siren go straight away, to know there was literally only 1 or 2 seconds left?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's taken the mark, and we've just ran down, and I think it was me and Richie got to him first, and maybe Maloney. We just grabbed him and said, "Please kick the goal." So, I think there was a little bit of confidence there because Ash practiced a lot of outside 50 kicks, so we knew he was probably the best bloke for that in that position.
And Dane, mate, what about if the roles were reversed and you were the man taking that kick? How do you reckon you'd fare outside 50 with the game on the line?
Well, I probably would have gone a barrel, to be honest. I was practicing them in warm-up, and I sunk one from around that same distance. So I would have been pretty confident with the distance, but accuracy probably would have been a different thing.
We saw you kick one on the run from outside 50 earlier in that quarter, I think.
Yeah, on the run and set shot are a little bit different, though.
Yeah. Did it enter your mind at all in your thought process when you were running after getting the ball from Jed to run a bit further and have the shot?
It didn't actually. No, a few people have asked that. Why didn't you have a shot? I just saw Ash just lit up. It was just right in front of my eyes, and that was the easiest kick. And fortunately enough, that was the one that was allowed for the least amount of time to travel. So, yeah, very fortunate, I think.
And Dane, obviously it's just your second year at the club, so you probably would have been involved in 10 or 12 or 14 wins now. Can you tell us how different it was after Sunday night in the dressing rooms compared to to other victories the team's had?
Obviously, there was a lot of excitement there and a lot of belief as well that we've just been able to claw back a deficit of that large late in the third quarter and to be able to finish over the top of a side like Geelong, who can just hold up the ball and can just control the ball for so long. So I think there was a lot of shock and just belief at the same time that, we can actually do this and that the boys should take a lot of confidence out of that.
There have been a few similar results, not quite to the same extent, but I'm talking about West Coast last year, then Adelaide, and then the NAB Cup Grand Final, and then Essendon a few weeks ago now. And all of them, it's fair to say, you guys probably haven't carried on with that form as well as you'd have liked. How important is it, and do you think this could possibly be the one that you really build from?
Oh, potentially, yeah. Every chance that we could take the momentum forward now. But, I mean, I think we just got to take each week as it is and not get too far ahead of ourselves and just probably just focus on Hawthorn this week because obviously there's the number one side. So we just need to really string together 4 consistent quarters, and we're just not doing that at the moment still. And we're competitive for 3 quarters. But if we could string together a good, solid 4-quarter effort, I think the boys are going to take a lot more confidence out of that than just a good 2 or a good 3 quarters out of every game.
Dane, obviously Geelong and Hawthorn have been the top 2 teams for most of the year. Without delving too much into a game plan or anything, can you tell us what makes Hawthorn different to Geelong and what sort of different things they'll throw at you on Sunday?
Oh, well, obviously they've got the big, strong power forward like Franklin and obviously Roughhead's firing at the moment. They're 2 really important guys that we're probably going to need to stop, and they've got a lot of really good left footers out of the back line that are really important. So half forwards going to have to be right on their game and try and shut them down as best as they can and try to limit their influence as much as possible, like a Mackie and an Enright did for Geelong on the weekend. So I think that's probably the key things going into the game.
In terms of strategy, that's one thing, but another thing is belief, and we've heard a few players say at times this year that the confidence has been really low. I can't remember who it was, but someone said that a few weeks ago after the Collingwood game was when the group confidence was probably at its lowest. I'm just wondering, now that you've seen what you guys are capable of in that 4th quarter, is there really the confidence that if you play at your best, anything really is possible?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think if you're not prepared to play week in, week out, it doesn't matter who you are, you're every chance to get rolled. And Geelong were fantastic for 3 quarters and they were really strong in the last as well, but we just got that momentum rolling, and momentum's a wonderful thing in AFL, and it forces a lot of mistakes and it forces a lot of pressure on the opposition. So yeah, hopefully this win can really enhance our chances for a better second half of the year.
Who inspires you when you're on the field? Like, we look from the sidelines and we're looking in that 4th quarter and we're looking at Brent Maloney doing some great things. We're looking at Daniel Rich kicking goals from 50 and we're looking at Blackie do what he does. When you're on the field there with your teammates, who do you sort of look to inspire you and who has that effect?
Oh, obviously Richie's one of those guys who always puts his head over the football. Same with Maloney. He's really good, but probably Brownie, just the way he goes about every contest he goes to. He cracks in hard no matter what the stage of the game is and just gives everyone, I think, that real walk tall kind of confidence. So, probably Brownie's that guy for me.
You did re-sign last week, which was great news for all Lions fans, alongside Louis, who I know there was a lot of conjecture about whether he'd stay or not, and quite a few media types were saying, the Lions will have a real struggle to keep him, but there didn't seem to be much hesitation from either of you to to commit to the club. Do you think internally there is a much greater feeling and belief in the direction of where you guys are going than perhaps the doom and gloom that's been portrayed in the media at times?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. All the guys at the Lions, they love training with each other. They love playing with each other. They really just like being around each other. So it's a really good environment, and there's a lot of young guys coming through, like Sam Mays and Justin Clark, who have got a lot of upside to them with the right development. And there was no hesitation from either of us because we know what the direction the club's going in, and I guess that's all that really matters.
Mate, now you've just got to get in Richie and Pierce Hanley's ear and tell him to hurry up, do you?
Yeah, I might give him a call.
All right, then. Well, all the best for the game against Hawthorn on the weekend and for the second half of the season. Let's hope you can keep the form going.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you.
Looking forward to this week for the club. The reserves play the Swans reserves on Friday, 2 p.m. It's in Blacktown. And then the seniors against Hawthorn Sunday. It's a 1:10 start in Launceston. May I just point out quickly that the last time the seniors and reserves had separate travel arrangements was the Essendon game. So I don't know if that's
Dom's looking for omens.
Yeah, I am a little bit. And let me just say, because we're at full strength and because we have so much confidence, I'm going to go out again and do what I did before Essendon. I'm tipping us by 14.
Jeez, controversial.
Yep.
Or is it?
Well, it's done now.
Well, I'm just quickly slipping this one in as after the match on Sunday night, I was down in the Lions, outside the Lions dressing rooms trying to speak to a couple of players, and I saw Malcolm Holmes there, and he actually asked me, he said, who did you tip on the Fancast? So we've got Malcolm listens, and I said, well, Malcolm, I didn't pick you guys. I had to be up front. And, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to be up front again this week. I'm sure everyone out there thinks I'm a real party pooper, but I can't go past Hawthorn, and I'm sure, again, I'd love to be proved wrong, as I have been this season a couple of times, but yeah, I'm going where the good money is. I'm going for Hawthorn, but I think Brisbane will make it. I'm far more confident they'll make it competitive this time. Very competitive, actually.
Well, you did tip Essendon and you did tip Geelong, so I don't mind you tipping Hawthorn.
Yep,
go for it.
That's right. All the other, I think the fans are with you, mate. Yeah, I'll happily
tip.
I'll tip against Brisbane every single match if they if that's what gets them over the line. So
we'll be back next week to review the Hawthorn game and look ahead to what's going to be, I think, a cracking Q clash. It's so much riding on this one.
I can't wait for that, but I guess we better get through this weekend first.
Yeah, definitely. That's the Fancast for today. Bye.
See ya.